Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show, episode 119. My name is Paul. I'll be your host. I'm with a grim-faced Alan Williamson, whose grim face matches how I feel inside. I'm only able to switch it on for the hosting duties, Alan, but I am equally as depressed as you are. Mainly just because Crisho's not here. Isn't that the only thing we have to be
That's exactly the only thing that we're going to be talking about today. The lack of Crisho. Yeah, that's it.
The lack of Crisho. Crisho, we are told, is gone on a spiritual journey / mission to Paraguay to bring back Miguel Almiron, because he has decided he's the answer to all our prayers.
He's on the ayahuasca.
Or maybe not Paraguay. Was it Atlanta, he said?
Atlanta, yeah.
Either way, very debatable whether Miguel Almiron is the answer, but we do have problems and questions to be answered because, listeners, you'll be as aware as we are, that Newcastle United capitulated to a disgraceful, embarrassing, really, really poor, pathetic, almost cowardly second half performance against Sunderland, despite being 1-0 up. We've managed to lose the derby at home. We've managed to lose 2 derbies in one season, let them doing the double over us in their first season back in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And good God, I can tell you now, viewers, listeners, and Alan, it wasn't much crack over there, because over there I was, and talk about contrasting emotions and experience before the game and after the game. It was one of the first and only times I've ever regretted not doing the day trip and not booking the first flight home out of Newcastle, because Alan, you know me as well as anyone, I love to have the crack after the game and be able to just enjoy the city and make a day of it. Oh, it was a tough one. It was hard to go for a few drinks after that match with any sense of not being miserable, to be honest.
Yeah, it was absolutely abysmal. That's all you can say about it. Like, there was no positives.
There really isn't any positives to take from it.
No.
We're going to dive into the game, folks, and we're really going to pull the game apart, I think, to really just get a sense of how the hell did that unfold, and how have we gotten to where we are from that win against Chelsea away from home, which was our best defensive performance of the season, in my opinion, to then go and do that. And I think we'll use that to springboard into a little conversation about what this means for Eddie Howe, and for me, what's going to happen in the summer. Because I don't think anybody really expects anything too drastic to change on or off the pitch right now, going into an international break. You do never know. But I think the summer now, a lot of eyes are going to start turning to the summer and start to think, right, this season is cooked. This turkey is cooked. And where does this leave us for the summer in terms of the current players we have, the manager we have, and what the hell our transfer strategy will be, depending on whether or not we have Europe. Because as of right now, it ain't looking good at all.
It's a serious long shot.
Yes. And then, Alan, we may be depressed again later in the week, but at the moment it's too soon. We might have a little chat about Ireland, who are playing on Thursday.
Yes.
This is the Irish Mags, but we are Irish. And I would argue this is the biggest international game for quite a few years for Ireland. Probably rolling back to, obviously, previous qualification campaigns, but, probably need to go back as far as 2016, 10 years ago, to actually find like a game of
a
such
decent
magnitude.
Game of football,
Yes, a game that mattered at a very high level, because we shot ourselves in the foot for so many years and rarely get to these situations. So we'll have a quick chat about that and what we think Ireland will do over in Prague, because let's be honest, that is going to dictate a lot of our summer activity.
Yes.
In terms of what happens in the summer and whether we'll have a country going wild at a World Cup once more. Alan, I will talk about being there, but before we get there, what was the reaction and the emotions in the Bleaker? Were you in the Bleaker on Sunday after this match? How bad?
I'm just like, it was a weird day, because the build up, the start of the day was amazing, and I don't think we played particularly well in the first half, but my God, we were bad in the second half, and the flatlining of all the emotions come that final whistle. It was just a culmination of everyone went, we got exactly what we deserved out of that game, and it was nothing. Sunderland didn't exactly lay a glove on us either, but they were the better side, and it's painful to admit they were the better side. I don't understand how it killed us off so badly. Like, the Bleaker was just dead because of it. There was no emotion. There was just lads dejected, sitting looking at points, going, "I'm just going to go home." Like there usually you'd have lads staying out and having a couple of pints and all that jazz, but there was just nothing. Lads were like just sitting here going home. There's no point. It's just devastation, utter to total.
It was the same. It was the same in the stadium. It was the same in the stadium. Like, it just felt like an all-time low. Like, we came out in that, like, I sat there at halftime, and even I was chatting to the people near me, and I was kind of thinking, you know, all right, we haven't been great in that first half, but they haven't really shown too much. I feel like we still have another gear to go up. I felt like we were probably only just in fourth gear, maybe not in fifth.
Yeah.
Thinking, right, we can go in, Eddie Howe can kind of shake things up and kind of be like, look, a couple of close calls here and there. Let's go out and absolutely show why we are the superior team, the superior players, superior manager, superior mentality. And we did absolutely none of the above. Like, it was the opposite. We came out completely on the back foot, wanting to just kind of play the ball sideways and backwards. I think I felt like Ramsdale had way more of the ball than any other Newcastle player whenever we did have the ball.
Yeah.
Because we were just being forced backwards. Now, part of that is Sunderland putting the pressure on. But like, I just couldn't understand how we kind of gave up the intense pressing that we had been doing in the first half. And we forced the errors from that second choice keeper they had in goal. He was pucking the ball out over the line. He gave the ball away a few times. We obviously put that press on and we scored the goal off it. We just decided not to do that in the second half. Just give up on it.
It made no sense. It made no sense.
It made absolutely no sense when we easily had enough in the tank to go at them for 15, 20 minutes of press of, look, let's keep, like, not do the same, but do more of what was working.
Yeah.
And instead it was like, well, let's just go in and hold on to the 1-0 lead. Like we've seen many a time, it was like going back in time where we thought, these aren't good enough. Sure, we can hold them for the rest of this half. And what made it even worse then was the way we kind of let them come at us, because they were trying to get back in the game. We didn't even try and punish them for it. We didn't even try and break its speed. We could have flipped the narrative and gone, right, if they're going to come at us like crazy, well, let's just break on the counter. And let's obviously find some space and widen the pitch and blah, blah, blah. Again, still didn't do any of that. We would get the ball. Someone would look up. Like, it might be a Trippier might look up or whoever. I know Botman went off. Like, it could be Byrne, it could be Chow. They'd look up and then they go, no. And they didn't want to take any chances. They didn't want to try and play a long ball or trying to create or fashion a phase of play or an attacking phase. It looked like they were afraid. And they were afraid to lose. So then they were like, no, okay, there's an easier pass. I'll just pass it back there. And we just started getting ourselves into trouble, putting ourselves under pressure, inviting them to come on. And they grew in confidence with every minute of that game. You could see it happening in front of us. And we've talked about this before, and Eddie Howe gets so much criticism about making subs, and hindsight's always a wonderful thing. But where I was sitting, I was in the Milburn stand, and Joe Willock is warming up in front of me. And then I think Jacob Murphy, then kind of, you could see him start to take off his top as well. And I was like, we need to do you know what? He wasn't even that soon. He hadn't even got the top off, but they were warming up. And I was looking at going, we're 10 minutes into this game and we're completely on the back foot. And I just found myself saying, would I rather bring on Willock and Murphy now when we're 1-0 up rather than bringing them on if we're 1-1? And I was like, that's a no-brainer for me, because Eddie Howe's obviously got them warming up and he's thinking, if things don't change, I'm going to have to bring these lads on. Fucking bring them on. Voltamandi is having no impact in the majority of the game, particularly the second half. You could see he wasn't going to influence or dictate or change anything. The couple of good things he did in the first half was what he can do. He can take the ball. He's got good feet. He can spin. He can turn. He can find a pass. But we weren't doing that in that opening 10 minutes. It was inevitable they were going to score. And that's, for me, where you kind of go, right, whatever I've said to these lads at halftime isn't working. The tactics isn't working. The mentality isn't there. I'm going to change it now while I still have the advantage. And instead, we just wait and wait. And Willock was up and down and up and down and up and down. Like, he was warming up for, there was enough time to kind of
15, 20 minutes, yeah.
Bring him on. And again, it's just back on that point. Why not bring on Willock and Murphy when you're 1-0 up? Because how is that going to be worse than bringing them on at 1?
Telegraphed subs. The same telegraph. And like, I do not understand how Harvey Barnes stayed in the pitch so long. He did not beat his man. That Gertrude lad, he did not beat him once. Elanga had a little bit about him and he was taken off I would have taken off Barnes way before I took off Elanga. I would have brought on Asula earlier, left Murphy on the bench, pushed Gordon out onto the wing and put Asula through the middle, straight off the bat. because I knew Barnes wasn't having a good game. I just don't understand it. Look, Willock for Walter Man, it was the only sub we really had, but it was just like it's the same thing over and over. Like, you know, when it hits the 60, between the 60 and 65th minute, you are going to see Willock, Murphy, or Willock Alanga, whoever isn't on the pitch, is going to come onto the pitch, and you're like, something has to change. It can't be the same telegraph things over and over and over again.
And you might, like, people might say, oh, well, he doesn't have much choice and he's got whoever on the bench and he's only somebody. But that's where my point is. You mightn't be able to control, like, he mightn't have loads of choice and luxury in terms of who he's bringing on, but he can control when he does things.
Yes.
And again, when things blatantly aren't working, and it was still only 55 minutes or whatever, I can't remember what minute they scored their first goal.
61st, I think.
Might have been towards the hour mark. For me, then, that opening 10 to 12 minutes, like, we were so blatantly poor, so blatantly like, oh shit, we're completely shitting the bed here. That, you know, Eddie Howe can't change 11 players' mentality on the pitch, but he can make tactical or personnel changes to shake things up and go, right, we're under the cosh here. It's not working. We need to change. Make those changes. I'm not saying they would have saved the game, but just, you know, timing wise, you wait till we go 1-1 again, and then you're making the changes, and they are changes that aren't necessarily going to help us then go and score. Whereas I feel like if you brought on Willock and Murphy when we're 1-0 up, they might just help you hang on to the ball a bit longer. They might help you just kind of calm things down. Both experienced players. Willock could kind of get in the thick of it a bit more than Voltamati does. And Murphy can be your outlet to get a few early crosses and blah, blah, blah. The things that you might like to see on the breaking on the counter and so on. None of that happened. Again, it's just, we let ourselves go on, like, we let ourselves concede. It was inevitable they were going to concede. You could feel it. Like, the whole stadium knew. Like, the stadium was never as quiet, even though we were winning. Like, I've never seen a stadium so quiet when we were winning, because everyone knew it was coming. And that's a really shit and sad place to be, in St. James's Park on Derby Day at 1 o'clock on a Sunday. And it was a nice clear day. And you just knew, like, everyone knew. All the people near beside me, they were like, oh, we're shit, man. We're shit. We're going to concede. We're only asking them to score. And that's exactly what happened. Really poor defending as well again. And just to go back to that point, Alan, I made earlier, like, how have we gone from such a strong defensive performance against Chelsea to conceding 7 in Barcelona and then letting the Mackhams beat us in our own place and score 2 goals?
Honestly, I don't know. Come here, we're flogging a dead horse with the back line we're putting out, with Dan Burn being 33 years old, trying to chase back, not working out. Trips being 35 and having to play week in, week out. Tino came on and was arguably the worst player on the pitch. He was, I'm not going to say he was the cause of the second goal, but he let Robbie get in twice in the 5 or 6 yards out and have 2 free shots on goal. Didn't track his man once. Like, it was, he's come on twice in 2 games and I've gone, he has not looked the same player. He's been really, really poor. Like, so it's a culmination of not being able to play our first choice backline at all. It's 2 players that, if you add their age, at 68 years of age, like, it's just not right to have them playing on a Tuesday and then on a Sunday. Like, it's tough for them, but it's our own fault. There had to have been other options there. Like, I know that not starting Che was a bit of an odd one. I thought if anyone was going to be dropped, but I know why he played Byrne. Byrne was the local lad. That's why he's played him. But if you're going, you play your best team. It's such a massive, massive game. Botman and Che are our starting centre halves when they're both fit. Botman is a sick note, as we all know, and he's out again. But a facial injury, like, the lad can't catch a break. But, like, you start your best backline whenever you can, and we don't seem to be doing it. I don't understand.
It's a funny one, because if Chow and Tino are fit enough to come on, and again, it's that age-old thing, but surely they're fit enough to start. And then if things are going well after an hour, or if someone's bollocks after 70 minutes, then you can bring on one of the other guys and they can more than do the job there.
Yes.
And again, against, like, I think we all went into it, Sunderland were missing a load of players, but they have a young team. There's pace, there's, strength, like Brobby. I mean, I didn't think Brian Brobby had that in him.
He was outstanding.
I've kind of watched him from afar for a few years. I remember watching him at Ajax, thinking, okay, he's difficult, but I just didn't think he had that entire game in him. The way his hold up play, the way he was causing havoc for the defenders, hanging on to the ball, playing balls. I didn't think that was entirely his game. As an out-and-out striker, I thought he often tended to drift, but he didn't actually do that. He just caused havoc in the middle. And fair play to him because it worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, just for me, if those lads are fit enough to come on and play half an hour, then they're fit enough to start the game.
Yes.
As far as I'm concerned. And that was just one of many things. I think the Voltamadi in midfield.
It's finished.
And again, in a game like this, for me, I don't really understand it.
No.
This is a game where it's going to be a scrap. It's going to be a dogfight. You're going to need athleticism. You're going to need the dog in you. And Voltamadi is a great footballer. I put him in my FBL team because I actually had convinced myself he was going to start up front, thinking that either Gordon might get a rest or Gordon would go out into the left. And that just made more sense to me. And again, we've just not seen it again. So it baffles me. Then we end up with that midfield. Like, I thought Ramsey was decent in the first half. He was dropping deep and doing bits and pieces. But like, granted, we are missing Bruno and Tonali, right? Two of the most important and most influential players in the team. But I just don't understand how Voltamadi sitting in there is an answer in a game like that. Yes, he can receive the ball. He does great. He's got great feet. He doesn't usually lose too much possession. There is a bit of an aerial threat there, but he was never going to put a stamp on the game and influence the game the way Joe Linton would do when he's beside Bruno and Tonali, if that makes sense.
It looked like a striker playing midfield. Granit Xhaka was bossing him, if you know what I mean. Like, I thought he was doing okay in the first half, but like the first 15 minutes of the second half was like, Xhaka has his number now. That's pretty much done and dusted, and he was then hooked. Like, it was Eddie done it with Joe Linton. He made him into a midfielder. He's not going to do it with Voltamada. It's just not going to work as turning him into another workhorse in midfield. He's not that type of player. He's a more of a delicate footballer who wants the neat, intricate play. He needs to be playing up front. Like, I think it was True Fate put out the stat where he's 9 games up front at home.
I have it open here, actually. I was going to read it. So yeah,
Alex, just read it off there. Yeah.
Basically, Alex put up some numbers. So league games at St. James's Park this season, Voltamade starting up front. 9 games he started up front. We got 20 points from those 9 games. Anyone else up front was 7 games, and we got 6 points. So, and then the point he makes in the comments then, that Voltamade's last game up front was Leeds at home. And before that, when he started home games as a striker, we lost once in the 96th minute against Arsenal. Might be a simplistic way of looking at it, but why have we just abandoned the idea of Voltamade up front?
I have no idea.
We remember him scoring and doing a lot of good things up front for us back in September and October. He scored like 5 goals in his opening 9 games, something like that. I don't understand why it's been abandoned. I think I made the point, was it last week or the week before, that it's quite possible we'll go into this World Cup in the summer and Voltamade might be up front for Germany. Yeah. Now, he might not, because he's not playing up front for Newcastle. So,
well, Nagelsmann said he will.
You're him.
Yeah.
Did he?
Well, Nagelsmann came out and said he was like, I'll get him scoring goals because I won't have him 80 yards from goal. He's like, I will have him in the box.
Will.
Yeah, he will.
Do you know?
Like,
I mean, they do have Havertz there as an option, but he's barely been able to string kind of a couple of games together. Still a very good player, obviously. It would be insane to think and to watch Voltamade scoring goals for Germany in the World Cup while we've been sitting on him playing in midfield. Again, that is a massive question that I don't see Eddie Howe having answered at all yet, either on the pitch or verbally when asked about it. I feel like there needs to be much more focus on that. Like, people upstairs should be saying, why are we doing this? Yeah. Like, why does this make sense? When Willock was on the bench, I think there's no reason that Willock can't start in midfield. Is Voltamade going to be that much better than Willock? Have we ever seen any evidence for that in that game? No, not a chance. No. Oh God, it's absolutely, it's depressing. I mean, there's not much more you can peel apart in terms of the lineups and all that. A lot of the players did pick themselves because we are missing some players. You know, there is a world where Bruno and Tonali and Miley are 3 of our first choice starting midfield, if not 3 out of 4, etc. So they're obviously huge losses in there, but it's another game where, you know, Elanga kind of reverted back to being really, really poor on the ball and just making poor mistakes, really sloppy touch. You know, it's become clear, I think, with Elanga. You want Elanga playing against Barcelona or Man City or Liverpool. Or even Man United, like sides that might push up with high lines and gamble a lot and have these fullbacks, wingbacks that like to push up high and therefore leave space. any other team it doesn't work and it isn't working. It was the same for Forrest. His best goals for Forrest was when he was running nearly from his own half onto
with the
big long
ball.
balls punted forward. So again, that didn't work either. I was surprised I was surprised he started, to be honest. I actually was convinced Murphy was going to start on the right too. You talk about Dan Burns starting, because he understands the derby and he's a local and all that. Jacob Murphy understands the derby.
Yes.
So it's the same logic as applying to that. Why not start Jacob Murphy? But yeah, we all of a sudden, coming off the high, and it was a big high coming off the Chelsea game, to go and beat them 1-0 in London at Stamford Bridge in a stadium where we've historically been terrible, to then completely capitulate against Barcelona and then do the exact same, granted not to the same extent goal-wise. But good grief, if there was ever, is it a fair statement, Alan, to say that this is an all-time low for Eddie Howe at Newcastle United as of that result?
It absolutely
is. Has it ever been any worse?
No, it hasn't. It's the first time where I've honestly thought, I didn't want, by no stretch of the imagination do I want Eddie out or anything like that, but it's the first time where I really thought, he's under a serious bit of pressure here. He has to get something right in this next couple of games. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's going to be questions over his entire tenure at the club now. And not rightly so. He has an awful lot of credit in the bank for winning the cup and doing all this, but a lot of fans are now going, how much credit do you honestly have? What can you offer us? What can you show us that you're capable of changing this? And I think after this international break, he has 2.5 weeks where he can get some of the lads, because most of the team are gone away on international duty, he can get some of the lads back training with the squad and go, right, we're going to go back to basics. We've only got one game a week now between now and the end of the season. It really, really has to change. We have to go back to our basics. If it's the hard runner, and if it's playing a striker up front, something has to give. It's the first time where I've honestly thought this could be when the Saudis go, okay, it's time for a change. You've brought us as far as you can bring us. Let's see what's out there. The only saving grace for him is there's absolutely nobody out there to take over that's better than him at the minute. That's one of his saving graces, I think.
Still not the best reason to stay, even from his own perspective. I mean, for me, I'm not necessarily am I Eddie Howe? I'm starting to think a change might be needed for the sake of change's sake, if that makes sense. It's rare managers stay as long as they do in the game these days, as long as Eddie Howe is now. A lot of managers, it's 3 years, it's 4 years, if they've done fairly well. It looks stale. Maybe the players are getting a bit fed, not fed up of it, but just it's the same. Everyone's got match fatigue. There's been 55 or 58 or 60 games or whatever. And I feel like a change might just suit everyone. Again, I still think, I don't want to talk about credit in the bank, but I feel like it's still an opportunity for Eddie to leave on his own terms if he was going to leave. And that's where Eddie himself needs to be kind of sitting down, looking in the mirror and saying, do I have the backing of this team? Are this team inspired by me? Am I getting the best out of them? Because where we saw Eddie Howe do his best work was taking Sean Longstaff or Miguel Almiron or Fabian Schär or Jacob Murphy. These, for want of a better phrase, average Premier League players,
yes,
who wouldn't have gotten into many other Premier League teams, and get unbelievable football out of them, making them the best version of themselves. And now, only a couple of years later, but Vissa, Baltamade, Elanga, Willock, Barnes, arguably, these are guys where they're probably at a slightly higher level to some of the players you just mentioned, and we're not seeing any pretty good football out of them. And even you could start to throw Tonali in there slowly for some of his appearances, and it's rare you'll hear me slag off Tonali, but again, have we seen Tonali's best football this season compared to any other time in the Newcastle kit? Obviously not. So the answer to the questions for me there are, why is that happening? Is that the players not getting it out of Eddie Howe? Eddie Howe must be wrecked. I've said this on previous pods. I thought that the England job would be his kind of exit strategy, for want of a better way of describing it. Take a break by taking the England job, even though it's a nightmare for the press and the pressure. At the same time, you know, you've got one of the biggest and best selection pools of players to choose from. And, you know, you don't need to go and get up at 5 a.m. and come home at 8 p.m. every day. I just feel like maybe Eddie Howe needs that, because this has been a slog managing Newcastle. There's been some fantastic moments, great times, but yeah, I am probably at the point where Eddie Howe needs to start with, you know, is everything good here? Is this the right place to be? Am I getting the most out of the players? Are the players listening to me? And am I driving them and encouraging them on? And yeah, honest question, Eddie, are you tired, or do you still have the same love and the same graw and the same drive to go and do this another summer, another window, and go and do it all again next season?
The only other side of it is he'll have a bit of a break himself this year where he didn't last year, or he had, I think it was pneumonia during the summer. And then
True, yeah.
He also has a director of football backing him this time, where he doesn't have as many plates in the air this summer, where he can kind of just concentrate on maybe implementing a new style of play, maybe implementing a new formation, maybe changing up his training. He doesn't have to go and be, I'm going to be the man to sign a player, I'm going to be the man to sell a player, I'm going to be the man to talk contracts, I'm going to be the man to do this, I'm going to be the man to do that. He just has to look after the footballing aspect of it this summer, which might be a little bit of a break, and it might refresh him a little bit. There's an awful lot of in my head, I'm giving him this summer and until Christmas at a minimum. Things are still sticky. You have to reevaluate then around Christmas time and say, okay, right, maybe you have brought us as far as you can, but he's still in the good books for me right now.
Yeah, it's a funny one, because again, it's like a lot of people will say what you've pointed out. Are there many other managers that are better than him out there? I would argue there always are. It doesn't have to be better than him. It's like it's the same level and different. So I'm kind of, in my mind, I'm thinking it wouldn't be the end of the world if the club or he himself decided to part ways. There are other managers out there. Other teams have been in similar situations where they've either made the decision to let go of a manager, controversially or not, or you can just see what fresh leadership does to a team. Like anything, it's just a change sometimes for the better for everyone. And again, I'm not like, oh, Eddie needs to be fired tomorrow or leave tomorrow.
No, yeah.
I'm thinking in the long term, in the long run, first and foremost, does Eddie Howe himself want to go and do this all over again in the summer and next season, which is a big one? And then number two, if the answer is yes, and he has all the same levels of energy and everything, then do the board believe in his capacity to do that? But like, you know, even Bournemouth are a recent example. They were going really well under Gary O'Neill, but they said, you know what, look, we know what we want. They wanted Areola. And granted, they've kind of slipped off, but it doesn't help when they had to sell all of their defenders and their goalkeeper and their best player. So, you know, like it's the same with Palace and Glasner. Managers that, you know, people wouldn't have thought, oh, these are going to be great managers. And look what happens when they come in. You know, Keith Andrews coming in for Thomas Frank. They're doing better. Like, look how he did at Spurs. So there are always other managers out there, and I'm okay with that concept. That's fine. But like, I'll still rest with the point that I still think Eddie Howe can do this on his own terms.
Yeah.
And if that means he's staying for the right reason, which is not a pride thing, not admitting defeat, but that he believes and he wants to have another crack of the whip and has the energy to do that with him, his staff, and everyone involved. But Alan, the summer is going to be a big one here.
Absolutely.
Let's have a quick chat about the summer. We'll park the debate about whether or not Eddie Howe is the manager. Let's assume he will be the manager going into next season, so that we can just chat about what we think the summer might look like if he is. You mentioned we have a sporting director in there that can obviously help with transfers, but for me, there's two sides of this to keep it really, really simple. Number one, in a world where we finish 9th, right, for example, let's say we finish 9th in the league, top 10 finish, Champions League last 16, Carabao Cup semi-final, FA Cup quarter-final?
Last 16, quarter-final.
Last 16, yeah. It's too much. Like, we saw what happened last season. Despite getting Champions League football, our best player upped and left.
Yes.
Are we going to be in that situation again? Do you think, regardless of whether we want to sell or have to sell for PSR, do you think there will be players wanting to get off this wagon, i.e. Sandro Tonali, Tino Livramento, Anthony Gordon?
Yes.
Even Bruno?
I think we are going to see Sandro Tonali leave. I think we're going to see Anthony Gordon leave. Do you know what? Over his last couple of performances, I don't think we'll see Tino leave, because I think clubs will go, oh, he's not half the player he is since he's come back from that injury. Unless his performances pick up, I don't know. I can't see Bruno leaving unless something catastrophic happens. I can see him staying. But the money we get from Gordon, Tonali, and potentially other players, like Willock will go, Murphy will probably go. Like there will be a serious squad overhaul. We're going to need 7 to 8 players in the summer, because we're going to lose 6, if not 7 players in the summer ourselves. Like
that is a lot.
Yes.
But it's not wrong. It's probably as much as you'd see for a lot of, like, you can look at Sunderland, who probably are the worst example to look at given what happened, but
yeah,
Sunderland have done this, Forest have done this, teams when they've come up, they've done this. And it, at times it does work for them. But then we go and we look at Chelsea, maybe Spurs to an extent, when they start bringing in a lot of players and the whole thing turns into a bit of a shambles. We have nothing to go on with the current sporting director, bar that sporting director's record at other clubs. But this would be uncharted territory for Newcastle United to have to go and bring in that many players at that level. And it would require, I think, a big change in strategy to move away from
Premier League proven.
We need to Premier League proven and players that are going to keep costing 50 million. We're not going to be able to do that. We're actually going to have to, take some chances here. And by a chance, I mean there's a player in France or Italy or Germany who could cost 16 million or 20 million or 11 million. There's going to have to be an element of, lads, let's scout a player and find ourselves a good deal, and not bring in someone who everyone says is already a good player, and we won't look silly.
The likes of Ryan, who went to Bournemouth. That's what we need to be doing. That's exactly what we need to be doing. Going, right, we went through this whole time of we can't afford to have any misses in the transfer window. Well, unfortunately, lads, we've had misses in the transfer window, and this season has been catastrophic. So now we're going to have to take our chances and hope the players for 30 million work out, or 20 million, whatever you're going to pay for them. Like, we cannot go down the route of going 55 million on a Premier League proven striker who looks like he hasn't kicked the ball all season because he's been septic. Like, go out and sign someone from France, 15, 20 million, and potentially it works. That money you save on not going 50 million is you get 2 or 3 players in for the same price, and you're going, like, right, we need, like, whatever we have to spend this summer we're not going to go out and drop 600 or 700 million. We'll probably have about 150 to 200 million at the top end of it, but that's including player sales. Like, I would say we have 100 million plus whatever we bring in from player sales is what we'll spend this summer.
Well, we're going to have to, otherwise we won't be able, like, if we do sell, let's say, Sandro Tonali for 70 or 80 million, right, that opens up a hell of a lot of doors. We can suddenly probably go and spend 4 times that, arguably, right? Again, smart maths, but the approach in terms of where those players come from, for me, needs to change. Yes, we're going to need to make some marquee signings. If we've any hope of building or even trying to stay at the same level, we're not a Champions League team anymore. We're just not.
No.
So we're going to have to stop thinking we are. And this is where I'll start to go back to things we have said on repeat for the last 4 transfer windows in a row. It's about smart scouting, and it's about where you're choosing to sign players from, and make those signings knowing they may work out and they may not. There's a bit of a gamble here. We think they might, but they might not. Because with the Elangas and Wisses, everyone has thought, well, they'll work out because they've already worked out. They're already there. And the opposite has happened. But if I start throwing some names at you, right? Antoine Semenyo, Adam Wharton, Eberici Eze, Michael Olise. They're the first 4 that came into my head. What do they all have in common?
They all came from championship sides, didn't they?
They all came from championship sides. Yeah. Right? Wharton came from Blackburn into Crystal Palace. Semenyo came from Bristol City, I think, into Bournemouth, unless he was somewhere in between. Eze came from QPR into Palace. Olise came from Reading into Palace.
Yes.
Right? Those players found their way into those teams from elsewhere. That, I haven't gone back that far. Point being, these are now like 4, arguably, top tier Premier League or beyond players. Obviously, Olise is going on. I mean, there's talks of Olise winning the Ballon d'Or, for crying out loud.
Yeah,
he played for Reading.
Yeah.
I remember watching Reading on Sky Sports years ago, seeing Elise in the team and thinking he was unbelievable. He was about 17. And I remember seeing Eze in a like not highlights, but like match, or not even match today. It was like basically like a recap of championship games when I used to have nothing to do, like on a Sunday. And I remember seeing Eze thinking, like, this fella's ball control is banana. He was just running rings around the place. You know, I'm not going to claim that I watch the championship regularly. I don't, but I do distinctly remember seeing both these players. Sorry, listeners, you will notice that noise every now and again. We suspect there's a mast on Alan's roof or somewhere that makes that lovely mobile phone noise.
Sorry about that.
Because we've long established it's not our phones.
Yeah.
So point being, like, there are, like, not every player you sign is going to be the next Michael Elise, right?
No.
For him to go and do what he did, or even with Eze or Semenyo. But there are clubs who identify players with potential, with the right attitude, who had the quality to bring them to a certain level. And yes, obviously they've had to sell them on again. And we may need to accept that too.
Yeah.
But we haven't done that for a long time. Like the closest you could say we've done in terms of a signing of anywhere close to that is Asula. In terms of, like, here's a guy in the championship. He could be good. He might not. Sure, we'll do it. It was 15 million. Low risk, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And look, that goal against Man United, he was worth it.
Yeah, exactly. That was worth 20 million.
Exactly. But I feel like we have missed many opportunities over the last few windows to make one of those signings every window that might be a 10 million or, you know, whatever it might be, as a kind of an investment, not a risk, but, you know, a potential low risk, high reward kind of thing, where we chose not to spend anything because we couldn't sign a 60 million player. We didn't bother buying a 10 or 15 million player. Do you know?
We were linked to Jack O'Downey from Coventry in January.
I remember that.
I have a family affiliation to Coventry, and I was like, I want this kid. He is unreal. Now, granted, he got injured pretty quickly after we were linked to him, but you are going to see him run amok in the Premier League next year for Coventry. He is going to, like, we could have got him for £20 million during the summer or during Christmas. You're looking at a 40-50 million pound player now as soon as he gets into the Premier League, because all eyes will be on him and someone else will come in. He has Chelsea written all over him, if I'm totally honest with you, where they'll just drop the money on him and never play him. But
they might Steve Sidwell the shit out of him.
Yeah, that's exactly. Give him the number 9 jersey as well for some unknown reason.
Yeah. I remember that did that. I thought Sidwell was a great player back when he had it with that really. Was he QPR Reading as well?
Reading,
yeah, and he was brilliant for them. And then Chelsea just ruined him. That would be classic Chelsea behavior. All right. Yeah. See if LinkedIn Liam will be there to cause havoc with that next season. But I agree with you. Like those kinds of players. Yeah. They're not the players we're looking to fire us into the Champions League. No. They're the players that we would have liked to have in the squad that have potential to go on and do things, but equally just give you a lot more options. Whereas now we get these injuries, or we get players who aren't in form, or, you know, he brings on Wissa in the 89th, almost the 89th. It was 88 minutes and 40 seconds. And I'm like, what's the point?
How is Wissa fourth choice striker out of 3 strikers?
And I was there in the Milburn, Alan, and Eddie Howe has his hand around Wissa and he's giving him all this instruction. And I'm like, what are you expecting this chap to do? He's going to have no confidence because you won't play him. You're bringing him on with injury time to play into that situation. I don't know what you're expecting him to do, but he wasn't going to do it, you know? Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. I need to relax. There's a lot to think about for the summer, but I think a change is probably the message from both of us, really. A change in how we go about our business and in terms of where we're spending it. But when we come back, let's talk about something that's more positive until it isn't.
Yeah.
Have a chat about Ireland against Czechia on Thursday night. A huge thank you to our podcast sponsors of the Irish Mag Show. The Half Volley, providers of high-quality, customizable clothing and merchandise, catering for all sports teams, businesses, social clubs and events. FSH Training Limited, a team of expert frontline paramedics and firefighters delivering first aid, fire safety, manual handling and patient handling for all business environments. And JH Fitness, an Irish-based online coaching business specialising in sustainable fat loss, lifestyle change and long-term health for real-world men and women. Support local. Check out all of our partner sponsor links in the podcast description. Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show. Alan, for the first time in 119 episodes, I'm going to say, let's not talk about Newcastle United. But
For a good
because we
reason.
were Irish, and by coincidence, I've got my little Ireland kid on today. But massive game on Thursday, huge repercussions for the summer. This is only the first step of potentially 2 steps to get into the World Cup. Just in terms of what this means, so we're going to play Czechia, formerly the Czech Republic, now Czechia, I believe, for branding and advertising reasons from a FIFA perspective, more than anything else.
Fair enough.
Just thought it was a nicer fit. I've been looking into this a little bit. I was writing an article and I've been doing a few bits and pieces. And by my count, looking at this, 2 very similar sides. They're ranked about 43rd or 5th in the world. We're ranked 59th in the world. They finished 2nd in their group L behind Croatia. I think they got about 15 points in the qualifiers. We got 10 points finishing behind Portugal, and obviously went on a late surge to get where we are. On paper, the squad values are almost the same according to Transfer Market, which doesn't tell you everything, but in a world where we don't know all the Czech players, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Czechs have only been in the World Cup once since 1992. 1992 was when Czechoslovakia split up between Czech Republic and Slovakia. They qualified for Germany 2006. That is the first and only time they've been in the World Cup since that 1992. As Czechoslovakia, they were in it a lot, and they were in finals, and they were very, very strong. We've been in 3 World Cups.
They were in our qualifying group when they qualified, because I was at that game. They beat us 2-1 away in the Fortuna Stadium.
Yeah. It's a long time ago that we were there, but yes, you're correct. And obviously for ourselves, look, we haven't been in a World Cup since 2002.
Yes.
And Saipan, as we all know. Actually, have you watched that movie, Saipan, yet?
I haven't seen it yet. No, I really have to get down and watch it. Yeah.
Might wait for it to come out on one of the Netflixes or
Netflix, something like that.
Other subscription TV is available. But to go back to the match, looking at this, look, they have Thomas Souček, who's the most recognizable name for people who watch the Premier League. They have a couple of players playing for Lyon who are quite strong. One in particular, his name is Pavel, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Kulc, I think it is. He has scored something like 14 goals from midfield for Lyon. And then another guy with him is Adam Karabek. So they're the 2 that stand out to me in terms of ones to watch. Their goalkeeper plays for Braga. I think he's decent enough. Overall, though, like, you're looking at Patrick Schick as their main kind of threat. Plays for Leverkusen, won the league with Leverkusen. He is 30 now, but he's kind of the one to neutralize. But taking all that into account, and I suppose looking at where we are, you're looking at the former tripartite. You're looking at the spine there of Kelleher and Collins. You're hoping for a bit of magic maybe out of somebody like Finizaz or Ogbene. Alan Brown's been in great form for Middlesbrough, granted in the Championship. And, there's a few players. Ryan Manning has been doing decent.
He's been superb for Southampton. Yeah, he's been brilliant for Southampton.
I just feel a bit confident going into this Czech game that I think we're going to win. It's
always the hope that kills you. And
I know, and that's being a Newcastle fan and an Ireland fan.
It's such a strange, because, like, I'm going to be honest, bar the last 2 games of our qualifying campaign, we were absolutely brutal all campaign. And then Hamer pulled it out of the bag, seemed to get something right with the teams. Paris just found a bit of form and has been outstanding for us and dragged us into these playoff matches. But yeah, going into the game, strangely enough, I come here, we're by no means favourites to win the game, but we absolutely have a fighting chance of coming out on top. And not only in this game, if we get through in this game, we have a serious fighting chance to beat either sides on the other side of the draw as well.
Well, the other side of the draw is Denmark and North Macedonia, right?
Yes.
Now, North Macedonia, didn't they stop Italy getting to the last World Cup?
They did.
And Italy are also still in the draw. Are they playing
Northern Ireland? Yes, they are playing Northern Ireland.
Yeah, there you go. So I think everyone is expecting Denmark. The thing is that Denmark aren't really as good as they used to be, in my opinion. Now, they still have some standout names.
Aging squad is their problem.
An aging squad, yes. And I think defensively, there's some question marks there. Like their centre backs, like Vestergaard, did he go out? I think he might even be injured. And then there's another
Schmeichel's injured as well. He's finished the keeper.
And there's one other centre back whose name, there's Vestergaard and another guy. No, Chiara's gone, I think.
Oh.
It's Vestergaard, and it's somebody with a similar enough name it's completely beyond me now. I know, I think they have injury issues. I think they have an aging squad. Rasmus Højlund is probably their talisman striker, who's been a lot better at Napoli than he was for Man United. But other than that, I don't think we have as much to fear with Denmark as we would have had in previous fixtures.
No.
Problem is nobody fears us.
Yes.
And nobody has had to for a while. But yeah, if we beat the Czechs on Thursday, we then play Denmark or North Macedonia on Tuesday in the Aviva.
Yes, at home.
These are doable things, in my opinion.
Yes.
Right. Would it have been nice to have Evan Ferguson as an option, either off the bench or as an alternative? Absolutely, yes. But look, injuries are injuries. Overall, we're not missing that many players aside from him, I would argue. Adam Ida can do a job coming in there. You'd love to have one more kind of real quality midfielder in there somewhere. I know Cullen is out injured, but again, you're talking about quite
That's
a
what Harvey
player.
Vale was brought in for. That's what Harvey Vale was brought in for.
I can tell you, I know very little about Harvey Vale. I know he came through the ranks of Tottenham and is at QPR, and that's all I know about him.
He won Soccer AM skill one time as well. I've seen a video of that.
Well, didn't Will Asula win soccer skills thing for over in Old Trafford as a kid? So got to take those things. Interesting, though. I mean, look, interesting dynamic. Interesting he's been brought straight in. He got 2 assists for QPR at the weekend.
And a goal, wasn't it?
Did he even? I thought it was just 2 assists. Maybe he scored.
I think involved in all 3 of their goals. They won 3-1 against Leicester. I think he scored the first one and then set the other 2 up.
It would be mad if he was to get a start against the Czechs. I don't think he will. But it'd be interesting and intriguing to see him come on even and see what he can do in a.
Did you hear his interview?
No, I read a couple of lines on it earlier.
He just what they bring to the squad, and he just said, "I'll work my nuts off." Was the funniest thing I've ever seen anyone say to an Irish reporter. Yeah, he's like, "Work my nuts off," and I was like, "I love it. Yeah, it's all right. That's right. Yeah,
that's fine."
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I'm okay with that. That's what we need. And plus, look, there's a bit of quality there, a little bit of pedigree. Obviously, good enough to be at the Tottenham Academy. He would have came through around the same time. Oh, was he Chelsea? Sorry,
Chelsea. Yeah, he came through Chelsea Academy, and he won the under-19s championship as the England captain. So like he's got.
Do you know what it is? I'm thinking of Harvey White, who was Tottenham, isn't it? Harvey White, his name was. I think he came through with like Harry Winks and Ollie Skip and all them. Anyway, look, besides the point, it's just my brain malfunctioning for a million, the 17th time today. Oh God, I should probably just live in Football Manager and stop watching real football. It might actually be more enjoyable. Okay. We've no Newcastle match to talk about because we're not playing until 2 weeks' time, Crystal Palace or whenever it is. I think the next fixture is the 12th of April. Yeah. So our predictions for this week will go to Ireland away to Czechia, Alan, and I'm going to press you for your score prediction for the playoff semi-final in Prague this Thursday.
2-0 to Ireland, but not a comfortable 2-0 win. We'll go 1-0 up early and then rob a late one at the end. Win 2-0.
I think 2-1 with the exact same logic. We're going to rob a late one at the end again. I think there's the belief. I think the belief is there. I think there's a good feeling in this camp. They seem to be doing well under this manager. He's obviously got himself a new contract.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel way more positive than I ever have in a long time about an Irish team in a qualifying sense, despite being kind of pretty poor at the beginning in the group stages, particularly losing to Armenia. Was just like, again, we mentioned all-time low. Second time we can say that.
Yeah.
But to see how they've rallied, I suppose, to see a bit of that fortitude, a bit of that kind of resolve, like they have to be taking a lot of positives. There's so much energy, the media, it's all very, very positive stuff that's coming out, that you'd hope they can go into this in a really, really good place, like mentally, as well as kind of thinking, lads, wouldn't it be fucking class if we qualified for the World Cup?
Yes.
Like, you know, just it would change the summer. It would change the summer for the country. It would lighten up an entire month for us. However, even if we get a tough group, I know the group that we have there, what is it, Korea and Mexico and South Africa is potentially the group if we qualify.
It's doable, if you know what I mean.
It's like, you know, considering when you consider who we played in World Cups or Euros gone by, where it was constantly just Croatia and Spain and Italy and France and everyone that was hammering the shite of us, that's not too bad.
And on a selfish note, I'm potentially going to be honeymoon to America in the summer. So, like, win-win. Yeah. Don't tell Emma, though.
Yes. Emma, Emma, she won't notice the newspapers if Ireland qualify for the World Cup. That won't pop up on her social media. That's not going to be obvious at all.
Yeah. So grand.
Good luck with that. If you can just put the earmuffs and the blinkers on Emma for about a month after, if we get through, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, we're both predicting a win. Let's see. It's on Thursday night, 7:45 p.m. kickoff. And it would be lovely to win that to give us something to look forward to next week, because we've got no Newcastle to watch, which may also be a godsend for us as well.
Probably the worst.
Absolutely. In the meantime, every Newcastle player under the sun continues to be linked with moves to other clubs, because journalists be journalising, agents be agenting, and that's probably going to continue right the way through to the summer. So we'll just have to choose to ignore it for a while. And we will be back next week, where we'll be a little bit closer to Crystal Palace. We won't be far away from a game at home to Bournemouth, where there'll be a lot of us traveling for, Alan. We'll fill in the listeners about that next week. And one other thing I'm looking forward to is we're going to have Arsenal away in a few weeks. Now, I'm not really looking forward to playing in the Emirates, but we do have a selection of Arsenal fans who tune in weekly to listen to this podcast.
Arseholes.
Absolute arseholes. We've been living in their heads rent-free.
Yes.
So much so that they even came into the bleaker ones just to see what real fans look like.
And they even tried to copy us by winning the Carabao Cup, but they couldn't because they're bottlers.
Couldn't even do that. It's not for everyone. That's not for everyone. Don't worry about it. So looking forward to gouting them. We might even bring a few of them onto the podcast if we're feeling that generous, but we'll see how much they'll pay us. And Krisha will also be back to join us next week as well. By the time we record next week, potentially, Ireland could be in the next World Cup, but I don't want to speak too soon. So until then, we'll say our prayers, parking away the lads for now and shouting, "Come on, you boys in green." Fingers crossed. We have big smiles on our faces next week. Alan, thank you for joining me this week.
Thank you, Paul. Thank
you very much, listeners, viewers. Check out all the socials below. Check out theirishmags.com for all the latest updates, information, meetups, everything you need to know. And we'll be back for more Irish Magnus next week. Till then, take care.
Good luck.